Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here in my continuing series of Gnostic movies. Now, as I always say when I review these, learning from films and looking for hidden meanings or taking them and having a perspective, fitting them into your spiritual path, certainly is a great help. It's always nice to learn from visuals if you can take them seriously more than just a bunch of Pulp Fiction nonsense. So, and there are many, many excellent films out there and a few TV series, which I will be covering in this particular series on it. And one of course, the classic movies of all time for Gnostic messages is, of course, the Matrix series. There are now 4 of them. I have not seen the last one. I will see that soon and report back on it. But the first 3, of course, are fantastic and a lot of fun, which is what makes learning and taking in concepts much more easier. Basically, the Matrix films start off with awakening. That's what film number 1 is about. Understanding what's going on. Film 2 is about purpose. And film 3 is about death. Transition. And I'm not sure what 4 is about. I will get back to you on that once I see it. And I've went up and down on all of these films in terms of my opinions of them throughout the years, but certainly they're fantastic tools that go into concepts of freedom, control, etc. One of the problems with The Matrix is that it's really a science fiction film. And people get too caught up in the vulgar representation, which I don't think the authors meant that either, who again were going through horrible transitions in their own life. The Chesky, this is whatever. These brothers, who are now sisters, were going through a transition from their birth sexuality into where they felt they were. And what a terrible position to be in if you feel that you are the opposite sex that you are living as. So this is a traumatic and very difficult situation to deal with. So a lot of what this film states is not about freedom. It seems to me the Wachowski brothers did quite well in life and were able to get a big-time film made and produced by one of the best producers out there. I think it's Ron Silver or whatever, but a great producer who has made some really fantastic films, and certainly this is one of them. Of course, having a guy like that on your team is invaluable to produce really good. Now, basically, the appearance of the film, what's going on there, the story, etc., was very much based in Japanese anime, who actually had a character that looked exactly like Neo in one of them. I don't remember which one it was, but they wore the long coats. They had all this. So a lot of what these brothers did, or this team in general, was the fact that they were taking a lot of the imaging from anime, which they were involved in, apparently writing it, doing whatever. I'm not sure what they did before that, but they were involved in Japanese anime, which is a unique style unto itself. And of course, it was made for adults, the Japanese anime. These weren't cartoons. This isn't Fred Flintstone. And of course, in Japan, the adults read, quote, comic books. And these aren't really comic books. They're graphic novels is probably a better way to do it. And this is what people read. And adults read this. And there's millions of these titles, from very sexual stuff to very violent, to everything in between. So this is all part of Japanese culture. So they took a lot from that. Also, you got to remember that the view in that film was not done by them. People created the Matrix world. They gave it the different colors. How much of this was the brothers themselves is hard to say. So it's a mixture, as a film takes literally thousands and thousands of people to make a film. Every little thing is done by other people, and when you put all these together in a synergistic blend, you come up with a particular product. So I hate giving anybody a sole credit for this, because there's a whole bunch involved in it, from directing to the actors, etc. And of course, the actors have to be offered the part. So casting directors have to, and the star of this film was not the first choice. So, and it goes on and on. If you look at the movies out there, the people that we consider iconic in that particular film were usually second or third choices. I believe Casablanca, the famous 1940s film, was offered to Ronald Reagan instead of Humphrey Bogart. And certainly, it seems to me that the second choices are always the best ones. So it's really unimportant of what happens there. But the problem with The Matrix is it's physically, visually stunning. And the special effects and everything go with it. So it grabs you. And I think this re-emphasizes the philosophical understandings because you're so caught up in the film that you can't ignore what they're saying and what goes with it. So, now none of the concepts here are overly new of what's going on, and to take it in a very literal sense, and I don't think that the writers of this show meant it to be taken like that either. I think they meant for you to take it as a struggle, not the fact that we are actually in a computer program. Now, people are arguing this point to today, and you're going to get a lot of the dumbademia people and so many others saying that, we really are just a computer program. That's all it is. With absolutely no way of proving it. I mean, these dumbademia schmientists can't even figure out what consciousness is, and they argue about that all the time, which, of course, doesn't seem to be something you can argue about whatsoever. If you want to go through mental masturbation and talk endlessly about things that really have no way of proving or have no value, well, become a dumbademia guy. So, to be baffled, to science, to be baffled and to argue what consciousness is the height of stupidity. But we live in a stupid society. So to think that this reality is some sort of computer program with the pain, the suffering, and everything that goes with it is the height of stupidity. So if you get caught in that, and you want to argue that instead of looking at the greater philosophical comments here, then again, you're just being led down the primrose path to destruction. So, that's not what the movie was started about. And of course, people love that. People love to be a Superman by really doing nothing. Neo didn't, like Superman, he didn't train. Superman didn't train. He had super abilities because of the atmosphere here. He was just a regular Joe and wherever he came from, Gorgar land. So the whole idea is that people love that. So they love the fact of putting a wire in your head and you're able to do something which is impossible. Brain knowledge is not cannot be put into your mind so you can then do something of a high physical task. You have to train your entire neurosystem to do that, which requires doing that task and living it 24/7. But we all want that fantasy. I don't want to practice. Ooh, that's horrible. I just want to know it. So again, these are all the fantasies that this movie plays off of, combined with amazing special effects that really captivate you. But you're missing the point. So we do not and never have lived in some simulation. This kind of thinking is highly faulty and stupid. It reminds me of where a lot of these people go wrong with their basically Indian Arab thinking, where they go back to the Maharajas. Who are you in the universe? Will you give me your money and your wife? Ooh, that's what we all want. Ooh, we're holy man. With giant. And the whole idea is that this is the kind of nonsense. And they like to tell people, I remember some bogus idiot guy from the 60s thought he was so impressed by a Yamimaji saying when somebody asked the Ramiyaji a question, they said, who are you asking that question? Didn't you see me sitting in front of you, Mabel? I'm right here. You can't tell I'm a human being. My mouth opens and vibrations of sound came out. Those sound waves hit your punky little weird ears. Don't you know who I am, you dumb mystic? You're not a mystic. You're kind of retarded. So, this is the kind of thing that impressed particularly the 60 generation of diaper-wearing infantile people that want to go back to a Middle Eastern viewpoint, whereas where all that stuff came from, who integrated then into the cesspool known as India. So the whole idea is that this is what happens when you get into these pseudo-intellectual thoughts, the mental masturbation that the cafe society.
Oh, darling, make sure you bring me a muffin with my Frappuccino Monkey Dog with latte double espresso. Um, that go into this. This is mental masturbation. It's the high level idiocy. And of course, when you tell people like that, oh, you're such an ignorant man, aren't you? No, you just said you've never really met Gnosis, have you? Of course not. You're a computer program. So the whole idea is to fall into that trap is a big problem, and that's one of the biggest problems. And the reason why the Matrix used to be very high up on my list, and it's really fallen back. If you want to find real Gnosis, you look at the #1 series of films, which is the Billy Jack films. A lot of people, again, don't understand these films, looking at them as B movies, when they really were filled with very potent Gnosis, as well as being the first really Western martial arts film. They were the first people to go on vision quests and take all that stuff that you pseudo-intellectuals like, the ayahuasca, and the dopies. Boy, do these guys love it. Yes, I know. My name is Terrence, and I've learned everything from the poo of a mushroom. So the whole idea is that all the things that come with that, this was all done in the Billy Jack films. If you haven't seen the whole series, do get it. Try and get it on Blu-ray, as you should do with The Matrix, and get the commentaries that go with it. Because the commentaries that go with it are very excellent, as it is with the Blu-ray version of The Matrix, which has 2 philosophers on there, which give you some very good information generally. It's the same thing with the Billy Jack movies. There are 2. If you get the Blu-ray version, there's the original commentaries with new ones that he made later in his life. So really fascinating and wonderful stuff that is there, and the entire process, which I am it's very nice to have those. So do that when you get them. But again, Billy Jack deals with the real world. On law enforcement, corruption on every level, your cowardice neighbors, your fellow person who does nothing, and of course the system that is as rotten as stinking as possible. And in the end, and the one thing I always like about Billy Jack, in the end, and if you listen to his commentaries, he said, well, what can you do in life? You have horrible injustices. You're going to have to go up and thump a few people. Just like I always love that in the Kung Fu TV series. And of course, Kung Fu The Legend Continues, another fantastic TV show. But the bottom line is that Kung Fu, the original series, was, sir, please leave me alone. I must go on to my spiritual path. I hear you, little Chinaman. You're going nowhere. Well, sir, I may have to then take foot and beat hell out of you in head. So the whole idea is that that's real life. No, it ain't, I'm in a computer program and I'm going to fight the Agent Smith. As I said, these are a great, sophisticated, and fun look at things, but you're lost in the tech of it. And that's the big, horrible problem with the Matrix that most people cannot overcome. And this is why they're so sad. Oh, we're a simulation. We're just this little program. Nonsense. So when you get caught in that, you're running into horrific problems with understanding the bigger picture. So everything in life you should be looking at as a Gnostic, trying to ascend out of this reality. And you should be taking it in as something that you're relating to your ascension process, which is the only thing that matters. Everything physical disappears, whether it's 1,000 years or 50 million.
Like nuclear stuff. Yeah. Even nuclear stuff eventually goes down.
Kinda. So the whole idea is that we have to understand that. So that's the really big problem with the Matrix. And the 3 films are very interesting. I disagree with several things in there. And I have a love-hate relationship with the latter 2 films. But I understand the process there to a degree. But most people shoot their load with a certain idea, and that's it. And, of course, the same thing with these writers as well. Even though the other films are interesting. And life really is about first awakening. What is your purpose in life? And then you have to deal with death or transition. So, this is all part of it, and to overthink this stuff really isn't needed. You have staring you right in front of your face. You have horrible, horrible problems
that you have to face head on. And most of it requires your foot in somebody else's head, figuratively or actually.
Little boat.
So the whole idea is that this is the world we live in. So we have to be very careful, and that's one of the things that the pseudo-intellectuals that seem to like to comment on the Matrix and take it like it's some sort of serious bibble that we have to be careful of. But certainly the concepts there. And part of the problem is a lot of the concepts in the Matrix are the same old, basically Arabic, Middle European thought forms. And this is what we're plagued with in modern times that, of course, the Matrix people couldn't look past. We have a philosophical system that is built into us with psychotherapy, and this is all brought to us by these Middle European Arabs, these Germans, Austrians, Swiss, and all the other commode stinking people that have perpetrated this philosophy on us, including their garbage science. Now, the real philosophies that came from the Greeks, the Romans, and the Celts, and the Egyptians are something that has been kind of pushed down because that moves you into pure, better philosophies, giving you answers instead of living in the human feces of Schopenhauer and the rest of those goombas. Instead of going back to the ancient Greeks and Romans, who really gave you answers, not hyperboles, and tell you how terrible the world is, they gave you actual practices to do. These Stoic thinkers, all of these people gave you answers on how to live life properly. So that's all part of the bigger picture. So we've got to all understand that as we move into that. So those are, now the basic philosophies of understanding and how society is tricking you and everything else. Well, this is all very good that the Matrix talks about, and so true. The point is, a lot of people take the right pill and they still don't get it. Yeah, I want to see the real world. As long as there's hot dogs and video games and porno, I'm happy to stay in that world. So the whole idea is they're not really facing anything, and what they're doing is just changing one pair of shoes for another. So, I know so much. I know the Matrix. Darling, get me one of those double quarter 15 espressos with soy milk and a little cinnamon on top, honey. Yeah. So these kind of people that want to look at this kind of pseudo-intellectual mental masturbation garbage get caught up in this, because they're not really seeing the real philosophy. And it's very interesting that this philosophy never gives you any answers. So, and that's, of course, the reason why it's part of your personality. There's never any answers. Freud never even went through psychoanalysis, never went through analysis himself, but he was telling everybody else to get it, while he was getting all of his patients hooked on cocaine that the drug companies gave him. Well, he follows his tradition for that runt race of freaks that come from that particular area of the world, migrating from Arab land. So the whole idea is that we have to understand that, and that's the mentality behind it. So, but I mean, there's an awful lot to learn, and it's always good to go through a very cool film like this and have all this stuff and be hit with these hyperboles. But it lacks a lot because of the fantasy aspects, and I can't impress that enough. I generally was watching The Matrix, the first film. I would watch that every Saturday while I was fulfilling orders and so forth in my old mail order business. And repetition is important, but it's when you hear something over again or view something again, you're switching into a different way of thinking, and these are part of the tricks of really getting something. So, it's difficult to criticize the Matrix other than that. But as I said, everybody uses whatever information there is out there wrong. So, if you think this is some statement about us being controlled in a computer program, you're missing the entire reality of everything. To think that that is even possible is a fantasy. There has to be some human reality to it, because humans created everything to begin with. And to think that this control that's going on with us is so complex to be done that when people are already controlled, because we have 8 billion people on this planet, and they all believe in Mickey Mouse religions. They all want to worship something, as mind-blowing statements are made by a guy like what is it, Tom Bijou or whatever. He's a billionaire internet guy. Well, that figures. Most of the biggest stooges seem to come from internet companies or the computer world now. And he says that now this is a guy who is non-religious. He was talking to a religious Muslim woman who was talking about, worshiping was something that she really appreciated. And his comeback was, yeah, I really need to worship something, but I don't believe in God, which of course is strange in itself. His worshiping is the fact that he worships marriage. Not his wife, but marriage.
That would make him a sissy.
So the whole idea is that this is quite interesting and profound, that here's a billionaire who can think and do anything he wants, has decided that he needs to worship something. Now, I don't know. Does he have an altar with his marriage certificate on it? Is he killing monkeys on his marriage certificate? This is a human-made institution. And who wants to live in an institution, as the old joke goes? This is the height of stupidity. I wonder if he learned that at Harvard.
With his frappuccino double magnesium filled with soy milk and a
little touch of cinnamon. So all that goes on, those realities there. So the conference, you're having a good time. Was it Tom or Tim or little Timmy? I'm not sure. So the whole idea is that these are the kind of things that we get stuck into, and we really have to be very cognizant of these giant holes. Life really is this path, and you've got giant holes there, and it's all covered up with a little bit of grass, and you go by there and you think, oh yeah, I'm doing okay, I'm believing garbage, and boom, right down the hole you go. So most of the time you can pull yourself up, but you're going to fall down one of those holes, and you're not going to be able to get back up again because you're living in such an illusion. So we do have to be careful, but these certainly are on the Gnostic list, certainly are great films. There's no way to not say that. Super, super entertaining, very well done. I think everybody in those films, of course, did a fantastic acting job. All the little nuances are fascinating. And I think Keanu Reeves is probably the best kind of person for this, having this kind of bizarre personality that he has. Not having a strong personality when you're trying to get a message across is important. It's not him, because his personality is not strong enough. It's the message. So, very interesting. So, works perfectly. And, of course, again, that is not an accident. That's Gnosis working. Other actors that were going to go in this role from... was it Will Smith they were going to come in there? Well, his personality would never fit this. And a few others out there whose name escapes me at the time wouldn't have been able to pull off the same film as well. So it's important to understand that. So definitely put this on your list. Definitely this is something you must see, all three films. Try and get the commentary ones if you can. Those are in usually Blu-rays. So you may actually have to buy something out there instead of stealing it or paying $2 for it on Netflix. Is all part of the process, and that goes with all these films. That these films should be supported so that those who are making stuff see that there's money there, and they will make further chapters of these things, as both of these films have done. Billy Jack, of course, I don't know, there's 3 or 4 of these that were made, and of course The Matrix, which there are now 4 of. So if there's that continuing interest, then people will be making more of them, and so will the people involved in it. Because in the end, money is the greatest speaker, the greatest motivator, the greatest everything. If there's no money in it, it's very difficult for anybody to get behind it, especially if you're dependent upon so many others. So that's all part of the process. So do check it out. There are many, many more films to come. There are some fantastic TV shows and many things out there that everybody should enjoy. Not only enjoy the entertainment of it, semi-passive that it is, but also get into the deeper, more traditional meanings of all this stuff so that you can evolve in a more interesting way instead of sitting in front of a book, listening to a lecture. Well, These are all great ways to learn, but there's nothing like seeing something demonstrated in front of you in a fun manner, but it really has meaning to it. And I think everything could really have that. And you, as a person seeking more Gnostic understanding of things, should be seeking the higher messages of everything you see. Don't take it in the gross fashion that Billy Bippy next to you in the theater is getting it, or some other guy that's buying this.
You got lots of bangs in it. Yeah. There's lots of flashing lights. I like flashing lights. Things that go bang. You know, like fireworks. You got lights. You got bangs. Yeah. It's so entertaining.
So it's all those kind of things that go out there that everyone should be looking for a higher level of things in life, because life is really horrific and you have to find the meaning and the path out of it. Until next time.